Go.
A famous artist that inspires me with his beautiful paintings is Michelangelo. Michelangelo is one of the most famous artists to ever live. He was not only a painter, but also a sculptor, an architect, and a poet as well. One of my favorite one of his art pieces is called The Last Judgment. This painting was created on the walls of the Sistine Chapel. I can use his artwork to compare the studies of humanities in many different ways. First of all, if I were to interpret the content of The Last Judgment, I would use symbols in the painting to critique what he is trying to portray. Michelangelo is known to educate the people of today, as well as the people of the past, of the true religious aspects there is to learn in life. In this painting, Michelangelo does just that. This art piece has human souls rising and descending to their fates as God judges their souls. Last Judgment uses religious symbols such as the cross and a crown of thorns. The figure in the middle of the painting has a bunch of light coming from his back, and I interpret this to be Christ. The Archangel Michael is painted holding the Book of Life. At the bottom of this painting is the boatman Chiron, who takes the damned souls to hell. Michael took a story from the Bible, known as Jesus coming back to earth to judge the human souls, and he painted the biblical story. The subject matter, which is in this painting, is religion. Next, I will discuss Michelangelo's technique used in his painting, The Last Judgment. In this beautiful painting, he used a technique known as fresco painting. Fresco painting is when an artist paints on wet plaster. The earliest fresco paintings date all the way back to 1600 BC. It was very popular in the Renaissance era. The Renaissance time period represents a cultural rebirth from the 14th to the 17th century. One of the most distinguishing features of Renaissance art was its development of highly realistic linear perspective. Along with being a famous artist comes judging critics. Most of the negative critics argue Michelangelo's once nude figures did not belong in such a religious chapel as the Sistine Chapel. One critic who argued his painting was inappropriate was Diego da Cesnia. Eventually, Daniel de Volterra was commissioned to cover up the nude figures with cloth. One of Michelangelo's biggest supporters, Barnes, disagreed with the negative critics. She stated, "In imitating the highest creation of God, the nude human body, the artist was imitating God's own creative art, and because of the correspondence between the movement of the body and the passion of the soul, the artist depicting the widest range of movement would create an image closest to God's own creation. An imitation not just of the human body's appearance, but of its very life. For what could be more fitting for such a high enterprise than the most beautiful creation of God, painted in the best style by the best artist?" Barnes had nothing but great things to say about Michelangelo, and I agree with her words about this painting. One thing I think most people can agree on is Michelangelo's fresco painting creates a sense of fear and hope of Judgment Day, and has done so in such a beautiful way. I really can appreciate Michelangelo's work and hope to one day visit the Sistine Chapel. His paintings tell stories, and in this particular one, I somehow feel closer to God and feel a strong sense of good versus evil, and the consequences of living a godly life versus a life of sin.